Time for some hard-hitting, the best knitting canoes in the entire universe, Alisa.
Did you like
beyond.
This one?
I love this one. This is great, but watch this. What? So for those that get to see this, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this or not, but it's kind of neat because you can see.
Oh, well, you better be careful about your things that show up on the side, your advertisements, because some of those are
porn on the
no,
Alisa the
but
Yarnista.
no. But otherwise,
there's an advertisement for the Milwaukee Brewers. That's about it.
Do you know where the story came from?
I don't. I was going to ask you about that because I don't know. It magically appeared on the itinerary for the day, and I don't know where it came from.
I magically got a Facebook message about it.
Magically?
From my sister-in-law.
Oh, well, thank you, Jennifer. This is a really nice story. So the wartime spies who I shouldn't say nice. It's not nice. It's cool. The wartime spies who used knitting as an espionage tool. And this is kind of crazy reading through this. But during World War I, a grandmother in Belgium knitted at her window, watching the passing trains. As one train chugged by, she made a bumpy stitch in the fabric with her 2 needles. As another passed, and she dropped a stitch from the fabric, making an intentional hole. Later, she would risk her life by handing the fabric to a soldier, a fellow spy in the Belgian resistance working to defeat the occupying German force. Elisa's playing with our overlay here, where you can see now she's hiding her face behind the web page. So
you're supposed to just keep going.
For those that aren't seeing this, I've got the website, the web page between our heads, between Elisa and I, and she is moving around.
And Rollo's actually looking.
Rollo's looking up at the. Can you see that?
He's looking at Mom.
Oh, I thought he was reading the website. So this is a whole story about how knitting has been used in various wars and conflicts and whatnot as basically as code to pass along messages and information kind of under the nose of the enemy. It's incredibly interesting. There's a lot of neat pictures and stuff in here too. Where was it? So when knitters used knitting to encode messages, the message was a form of steganography. I always thought it was stenography, but that's just the court thing, huh? So steganography is something different. A way to hide a message physically, which includes, for example, hiding Morse code somewhere on a postcard or digitally disguising one image within another. If the message must be low-tech, knitting is great for this. Every knitted garment is made of different combinations of just 2 stitches, a knit stitch, which is smooth like a V, and a purl stitch, which looks like a horizontal line or a little bump. So for anybody listening to this probably knows what knits and purls are. But by making a specific combination of knits and purls in a predetermined pattern, spies could pass on a custom piece of fabric and read the secret message buried in the innocent warmth of a scarf or hat. What's some good ones here? So this woman, Phyllis Latour Doyle, sounds super hardcore and intense, but she was a secret agent for Britain during World War II. She spent the war years sneaking information to the British using knitting as a cover. She parachuted into occupied Normandy in 1944 and rode stashed bicycles to troops, chatting with German soldiers under the pretense of being helpful. Then she would return to her knitting kit, in which she hid a silk yarn ready to be filled with the secret knotted messages, which she would translate using Morse code equipment. She says, I always carried knitting because my codes were on a piece of silk. I had about 2,000 I could use. When I used a code, I would just pinprick it to indicate it had gone. I wrapped the piece of silk around a knitting needle and put it in a flat shoelace, which I used to tie my hair up. And this is something she said in 2009. So this is a woman who was doing this stuff in World War II and still around in 2009 telling her story. And this is amazing stuff that I had never heard before. And I'm guessing a lot of people hadn't as well, but just story after story about what?
When the German authorities carefully unraveled such a sweater, the story went, they found the wool thread dotted with many knots. By marking a vertical door frame with the letters of the alphabet spaced an inch apart, the knots could be deciphered as words by measuring the yarn along this alphabet and marking which letters the knots touched.
Yeah.
So they would put it in there, and then, yeah.
And there are questions as to the validity of some of these stories, but in general, yeah, some pretty...
There has to be some truth to it.
Crazy stuff. And again, showing some World War I injured soldiers are knitting in their beds. And this is something that's very interesting to me, is some of this propaganda stuff that came out of World War I, World War II, and various wars. But the American Red Cross poster, "Our boys need socks, knit your bit," and it's got the American Red Cross with a basket of yarn and a couple of knitting needles stuck out of it. And I'll tell you, the socks, it's kind of like the White Sox kind of thing. I always hate it when people like abbreviate and make weird based, how do you, like, respelling based on the phonetic sound of how a word sounds, like SOX, like this one is. I thought that was kind of a new or like modern type thing, but this is World War I, so that goes back a long time.
That's not new or modern.
It's not a long time. World War I is only 1930s, something like that. But it's very, very interesting story. So thank you, Jennifer, my sister, for sending this along. Very cool story.
Yes, thank you. So, steganography is the practice of concealing a file, message, image, or video within another file, message, image, or video.
Okay.
The word steganography comes from the Greek words steganos, meaning covered, concealed, or protected, and graphene, meaning writing. So it is quite different than stenography, whereas they're not trying to hide anything.
So it's a stegosaurus. You're protected and covered by your big plates along your back and your tail. I guarantee that's where that comes from. Interesting. Steganography.